Oh, so we had some requests of doing some classic movie reviews, and I thought that was kind of a neat idea because this is the era that I watched a lot of these movies. They were old movies even for me to be watching as a younger person, but these two are definitely not from that timeline, so we thought I choose one to start with. We're going to review Singing in the Rain and see if it stands up to today's standards. In case you haven't caught the recent flick from 1956... 52? That's right. 1952, Singing in the Rain. We may have a few spoilers in this review. So, who would like to start?
Okay, first, maybe we should discuss what is a classic.
Okay, yeah. Because I think there's some 80 movies that I would consider a classic, but in this series, I think that classic should mean pre-what, 1950s?
Are we only going about age?
No, I'm thinking classic should be something groundbreaking. Have been noticed throughout the moviedom that this movie stands out. So like the original Jurassic Park stands out. There's been other Jurassic Parks.
That's true.
But that one stands out. That one would be considered a classic.
So I'm thinking maybe there was cultural significance or technological innovation.
Something that makes us, in this case, it was one of the most highly awarded musicals of all time.
Yeah, so I'm not going to lie. Going into this, when we were sort of given our assignments and what to watch, I wasn't looking forward to spending an hour and a half watching a movie that was placed in the 1910s. I was not looking forward to that at all. But once I started it, I was hooked. I was drawn in. I've been humming the title track for a couple of days now.
Well, here's the thing. You say it was highly awarded.
Yes. There's not somebody out there that does not know the one scene in Singing in the Rain.
Okay, but are you talking about actual awards?
It was nominated for 2 Oscars and 9 other awards.
See, because at the time, people thought it was an okay movie.
Yeah.
But it was only after, maybe a decade where people started seeing how kind of amazing it was.
Yeah. And that happens in a lot of cases. It's kind of like, wow, you know what? I didn't realize it at the time, but just look how amazing that was. And that's kind of what happened here.
It kind of shows you, though, the contrast and the difference between actors today and what you had to be able to accomplish to be an actor back then, a successful actor back then. The dancing, the singing, the acting. Could Chris Pratt pull off that role today? No. Well, that's what I'm saying. The difference in the type of...
Can anybody from Dancing in the Stars copy those roles nowadays? Because you have to act. You have to...
Okay, but to be fair, Gene Kelly was a tap dancer,
yes.
And he also, I believe, was a ballet dancer, and this movie was built to highlight those dance steps.
Exactly, and Donald O'Connor is best known for being in the Francis the Talking Mule films of all things.
You can't just say,
and he's in there.
You can't just say, okay, can 99% of the actors do that movie today? Well, that's kind of... It's not apples to apples. You say, can a tap dancer do that movie today?
Okay. Well, before we get into this, why don't we break down what the movie's about?
Okay, but quickly on this one point, what I think Mark is trying to say is a lot of the films nowadays rely on CGI and camera tricks to make you think the people are better at what they do. If you watch this movie, the dance scenes are long, choreographed single shots.
Very minimal cut scenes at all.
You don't, where if you see some fights, take a look at some fight scenes from really good movies that everyone likes, you know.
You can barely keep up with the camera changes.
It's like cut. That's because they have to edit it to make it look like they know what they're doing as opposed to them knowing what they're doing. The actors back then, they had to know what they're doing. So the setup for this film is kind of unique. It takes place where the two main characters, played by Gene Kelly and Debbie Reynolds.
And David O'Connor, and was the third wheel.
Donald O'Connor.
Donald?
Yeah, Donald O'Connor. Donald. That's why I like Donald O'Connor. I actually like him from the Francis movies, but they are silent movie couple. They're not together, they're not married or anything, but everybody loves them as a couple on stage. It's but it's silent pictures. So they just have to mouth the words and do their acting. And now the talkies have come, and they have to perform, and they're going to do a musical number. Turns out, one of the singers that's in there really can't sing very well and has a really high voice.
Or talk.
For that matter. So this is where Debbie Reynolds comes in, where she's going to become the voiceover person for the main actress.
And she's just an aspiring, actually she was a chorus girl.
Yeah.
She was an aspiring actor, so
that's kind of the premise. Here come the talkies. One of the people who we want to keep this couple together because they're money making. Everyone wants to see them together. So they're going to bring in Debbie Reynolds. She's going to voice over, but of course there now becomes a romantic twist where Gene Kelly falls for Debbie Reynolds, and who wouldn't? Because Debbie Reynolds. But what do you guys think? How about the plot? Just the plot alone.
I think they were Milli Vanilli before Milli Vanilli was cool.
The plot I found was okay. I thought there were a couple of scenes that meandered a bit, like when he's telling his boss what his vision for a scene in the movie is going to be in the final movie. And it just seemed to go a long time, and it wasn't very interesting because it went through the different ages of dance and music, and I'm thinking, okay.
I've watched YouTube videos about that recently, okay?
So when is this going to end kind of thing? It just didn't fit in the movie for me, but the rest of the movie I thought was pretty solid.
Okay. I was hooked right away just because of the humor of the movie when he stopped walking into his movie preview, and he's got he's asked to sort of tell his story and how he came up from his humble beginnings, and he's telling everything, like everything happened with integrity, and everything was was a solid and upstanding. But you're watching the video, and obviously he's coming from being a clown, being a stunt man, embarrassing himself in all these silly roles. But the way he tells it is basically telling it as if he was born to be a star the entire time, and I thought that was pretty funny the way they did that.
One thing I found about this movie, it was very meta. It was talking about the film industry, making kind of like a critical commentary about Hollywood. They're making fun of the contract situation. They're making fun of how fake the lighting and stagecraft is. They're making fun of the Hollywood star and his persona, and in the end, they put it all together, and the audience doesn't even realize that this was a mockery commentary of Hollywood. That's because right. They've enjoyed the seamless story.
That's right.
Yeah. See, that's how you do social issues and commentary. You build it into the story.
So that nobody even
naturally
notices. Yeah.
Naturally. You don't need to promote things. You just have to have it happen naturally. And that's one of the great things about the older films, is that they do this. And some of the older films could never be made today, let's face it. Could never ever be made today because people would just freak out. But this movie, I thought, like I said, Singing in the Rain is a classic number. Him singing up, dancing on the light post, that poster of him hanging off to the side like this. If you just show them that poster, everyone, even if they've never seen the movie, says, yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen that.
And they would probably, if they haven't seen the movie, they could see that picture and say, that's from Singing in the Rain.
Yeah.
And here's a did you know moment. Did you know that Singing in the Rain, the song, was not from Singing in the Rain? This was the 7th time that song was used in a movie.
I did not know that.
Yep.
That's pretty crazy.
And actually, there's another piece of trivia that you are aware of with this movie.
Oh yeah. So talking about the meta and fake Hollywood. So the scene where Debbie Reynolds is supposedly dubbing her voice for Lena Lamont it's not even Debbie Reynolds' voice.
Yeah.
It's Jean Hagen's voice
Yeah.
because she had a deeper, softer voice. And so it was
Debbie
layer
Reynolds
by
was
layer.
not a singer.
So if they had have pulled back a second curtain, there would be somebody else singing behind that
If
curtain
you've
as
seen the
well.
movie, well,
And
you
yet-
know what we're talking about.
You say Debbie Reynolds is not a singer, but that Good Morning song was awesome. That whole number, good morning, it's great to stay up late.
Right, the
That
Viagra
song.
commercial. That's what it is. That's,
That was awesome.
Yeah. And even Donald O'Connor's dance number as the friend.
Make 'em laugh.
Make him laugh.
all the songs were very catchy.
Like these are classic, and even today they're enjoyable.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it. Like if you're looking at a musical, I mean, that stands out to me. These were just fun.
yeah, the dance scenes in this movie were incredible.
Yeah. To this day, I wish I could dance like any of those.
How do they make
people.
their bodies move like that?
Yeah.
They're like rubber.
I don't know.
That's like, you know, the old saying, for everyone says Fred Astaire is one of the greatest dancers of all time, and people say, you know, kept on saying, why will there never be another Fred Astaire? And that's because if someone says, well, everyone's trying to dance like Fred Astaire, and Fred Astaire was just dancing.
Yeah, and honestly, he was breaking the mold for a lot of.
Yeah. And Danny Kaye is Danny Kaye? Yeah, Danny Kaye. I almost said Danny Thomas there for a minute. Danny Kaye.
Well, that would have been just silly.
He's not a dancer, not very well. Anyway, Donald O'Connor. I love the dance numbers. If you're thinking about watching a classic movie, this one still stands up to the test of time, I think. I watch this at least once a year myself, all the time. It's one. If I feel like a musical, this is one of the ones I watch.
Now, here's the part where we have to say why it's a classic.
Okay, so I can do this.
Oh, okay.
The title track scene of Singing in the Rain. The look on his face when he's doing this number is that of just pure joy. He's just loving what he's doing as an actor, as just doing the number, singing the number, dancing the number. He's loving it, and you can see it on his face. It's almost as if he's not even acting at this point. He's loving it, and that's what drew me in. I was really I really liked that.
Okay. So I believe I'm going to go with it's a classic because of the innovation. Because previous to this movie, musicals were done so that you had a very weak story. The narrative was just there thrown in to connect these dance music scenes that were kind of unrelated to what was going on. And so Gene Kelly, he wanted to change things. He wanted the dance scenes to enhance the story, and I think there's a term they called cine-dance or cine-song or something like that.
Yeah, they don't use that term anymore.
So what they did was, we're going to use dance to help tell the story. And this was pretty crazy because the things that happened in the dance scenes actually happen in the movie's real life. It's not a dream sequence, it's not a hallucination, it's something that actually happened in the story. And this was the first movie to do that. So this was groundbreaking for musicals at the time.
Okay, what do you think?
I'll always think it's a classic. It's one of my favorite musicals of all time. It stands the test of time, even today. There's other musicals out there that's far more well known, actually.
Like Bill and Ted.
Yeah, like the number one musical of all time. But if you look at, say, a movie like White Christmas, which is known for its music and its songs and its dance numbers, if you actually look at some of those dance numbers, they have nothing to do with the story. They're just random dance numbers and routines. And well, like as Paul said, this movie told a story with their dances, and that's why it'll be forever known as one of the best musicals of all time. Classic.
I tend to agree.
Do we agree it's a classic?
I think we have to agree it's a classic.
Does it stand up to the test of time?
Given that there are classic movies even more modern than this one that I have yet to see, but I still enjoyed this one, I think it stands a test of time.
Okay. All right. The next one we're going to try is a different genre. We're going to go with comedy next time, and one that takes on a subject matter that I don't think you could do these days. We're going to take a look at How to Marry a Millionaire with Marilyn Monroe. So stay tuned for that one. Until next time, We'll see you at our next review.